It's very important for people to know the real history, because not to know the real history, and you must know world history and European history, and you must dismiss the black and white game. If you don't, you're already in the trap. You're in the matrix. All right, the other thing is, because certain things that we were talking about earlier, different things that we're hitting on, and hearing people say different things, one of the things I recognize that a lot of people fail to recognize is law, what it is not, what brings it about. And so I think with a lot of us, this can help. And I'm going to go to this point first, then we're going to open up the questions so that we can deal with the matters that are important or that's before us. Now, pardon me, all civilization operates on contract. There's no such thing as civilization operating without contract. Contract is an agreement, a treaty, constitution, verbal, oral, however. They're covenants. They're all forms of contract. One of the things that I see that's a weakness with us is because of the usurpation of the United States Republic, which the Moors helped set up. People unconsciously keep equating the U.S. democracy and the United States Republic, which is the first weakness. Now, I'll make it very, 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 very clear. The U.S. democracy has no law. The United States Republic of Morocco has the Constitution. They cut Morocco off. That is what the slavery really is. Do you understand? People's concept of what the slavery is in the Western Hemisphere is totally wrong. So before you can really understand how to deal with the law, you must understand what the secret societies did. You have to have, put it this way, if you don't have any knowledge as to what is the body of information or the foundation principle body of information that the secret societies across the world have, you can't understand how and why governments are run. Do you understand? It's not left to emotions. And we have a tendency when waking up to still mix emotions with realities. This is where we get caught in the matrix that everybody just is talking about. And that vague area where foreign authorities are able to take jurisdiction in other areas where they have none. And then we get to the position of arguing what the law is and what the law is not. And so you come back to the foundation principles. And so if you don't understand the political evolution on how the Europeans established government here, then you can't understand law, nor can you understand your history, nor can you understand their history, nor can you understand how we interchange. It is because of the Inquisitionists, and when they started the artificiality of race, that's part of the trap. If you get caught into that, you're caught in the trap. So the first one of the things that you have to do is to begin to dissolve in your mind the fictions and then begin to deal with the realities. The reality is that this is one broad and expanded human family that's broken down into broader families that are called nationalities. Once you took that game when the sociologists started creating the race game in order to start to divide the people so they could rob them, and you take that as an information base and you go from that on any point, whether you're dealing with law, governments, etc., you're already wrong. It is no different than if I say, well, let's give you a mathematical problem, and we're going to give you 3 columns of numbers, whether it's addition, subtraction, multiplication. We're not going to argue that. We'll give you 3 columns of numbers. Then I don't tell you that 1 column is written in invisible ink. Your outcome will never be right. You understand? Parabolically, you understand that. So what happens with us when we're getting into issues of litigation, issues of controversy between diversities of people, diversities of states, diversities of status, etc. We have a tendency to go right in and to assume people who are assuming jurisdiction have a jurisdiction in the matter and or the person, and we give them jurisdiction, then we start arguing issues of trying to get out of certain situations when they never had it in the first place that you give it to them. Do you understand? Meaning that for law to exist, if I make a claim on you or against you, if I make a claim on you or against you, what you should be arguing to me is not necessarily the substance of the matter. If I say to you, you know, we're really upset with you because you owe $5.50 and 2 bags of popcorn. You say, well, that's kind of high. And, you know, I don't feel as though that's fair. When what you should be arguing is not that. But number one, where did I derive my authority and enter it into the record? That's number one. Because before I can claim a right or an authority over you, the only way that your birthright can be given to me in any sovereign capacity, if you're in agreement with me through your parents or through some organized system government prior to me, that which I'm by bloodline obligated to and didn't dissolve, or your birthright is your own. Do you understand? You're the law. Do you understand? And if I impose that on you, then I'm maintaining slavery, which is a violation of civilization, which gives you a right to take that person's head, really. And any other civilized person has the right and authority in assisting you in international law to take that person's head. Do you understand? So if I say to you that you're in violation of something, what you're supposed to say to me says, you're not even arguing that. Well, if you're making a claim, introduce it into the evidence before people of my own national peers. According to national or international law, introduce the evidence and the complaint, right? And see if it's validated by the people. And then they'll decide whether something goes with this or not. Right now, I'm not making any claims, you know, or counterclaims one way or another. Not making any pleas or anything. There's no pleas. Do you understand? Now, for me to have a claim that to be valid, number one, there are 3 issues in any issue of contention, controversy, etc. And this is where we're weak at very often because we don't look at this and we let people bypass them. First issue is your status. Can I raise this? Has this been done over? All right. Now, and keep this in mind. And while I'm talking to you, I'm going to explain to you also why the game is played, the color game is played. It's actually political sorcery, if you understand it. And basically, the stuff is very, very simple once you have certain fundamental component parts. So you have to understand right? Then you have now in issues of controversy, that's the process. So the first thing that comes before any court, any lawful court. Now you got colorable courts, and you can have, you know, where you have organized criminals come together and then deny process, which is common. And one of the weaknesses that people have is that they assume that people that hold government seats are not criminals. That's your first problem. You know, it's sort of like the same misnomer that they assume that somebody, a priesty guy of the Bosnatzeldorf, of the God of Christ, of Jesus and Allah and all that kind of stuff, and you, and you get all like that and figure that that person's sinless and all that stuff. They're usually the dirtiest people on the planet. Do you understand what I'm saying? Steal your dog's food and take grandmom's lunch money without a conscience. And the only problem with you is that you keep assuming that these people have some kind of authority or some kind of morality that does not apply to them. One of the things that we have to do is no different than criminal people in government assume authority and assume jurisdiction that they do not have, so do people with titles. And so whenever someone has a title, if that title applies to any public office or any public institution, the first thing that you're to require of them is not declaring their title, but declaring their title by their actions. So therefore, you should understand fundamentally what is the designated authority of anyone in any particular office, whether DOA or is the delegation of authority order, time of their installation in that office in good behavior, what the delegated authority is, what the conditions are, when it terminates, and how it terminates. And that's all the time in government. Do you understand? Particularly in a Republican form of government, which is why we established this republic. Do you understand? Now, the Inquisitionist job was, and what their mission was, and it came even before we made this agreement, to undermine the republic. This is the reason why the plenipotentiaries with the Moors warned the people, once we finally decide to make peace and stop this silly wars that we're going over and over again, that you now have a republic if you're willing to keep it. And now you have a whole bunch of grown people in grown bodies with the mentality of little boys and girls that keep calling this a democracy. And as soon as they say that, they lose their political birthright. As soon as you agree to that without a challenge, you've given up your political birthright and you've agreed to a fraudulent jurisdiction. Now, so what that makes you is booty and prize to organized criminals who will tell you to your face that this is a democracy and you haven't challenged it. No different if they call you Negro, black, and colored and you didn't challenge it. It's assumed. And if it's assumed and you don't object, it stands. Do you understand? This is another reason why anything relative to the rights of people is made in a public declaration. So you must make a public declaration of your independence from the fraud, as well as your declaration of your allegiance to the principles of civilized government. Do you understand? And so even like when like children say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. All right, that's cliche to most people. However, it means more than what they think it means. Do you understand? Now, that's those who pledge allegiance to the peace between the Moors and the European nations in here and establish this government of amity and peace and to do commerce in this Moorish empire. Do you understand? What they did is overthrew it. Six and Chestnut, and they took the nationality and birthrights away from the Moors, and different Moors were in government. They told them step down or die. Do you understand? And they instituted in 1779 the Negro and the black crap retroactively into the history documents. They started burning documents. They started hiding documents, transferring books into different areas of the countries and into secret societies. And they started making up new records. And in the new records, they started listing the Moors as blacks, Negroes, according to the territories. And they take the children and send the children to the Northeast Territory, they send them to the Southeast Territory. They take them from the Southeast Territory, send them to the Northwest Territory, and vice versa across the Nile River, which you call the Mississippi. And they've been playing the game, they even do it in military. Then Horace Greeley, who you saw, said, "Go West, young man," was competing with Abe Lincoln, etc. He was sort of like a tycoon with newspapers in New York. And they went about, Noah Webster too, went about altering the history, rewriting the history. That's your real truth of your period of Reconstruction. Those who know a lot of these fundamental keys have an oath of death, belong to secret societies. You notice that they'll wear our fez too in those secret societies. They call them Masons, Knights of Columbus, Eastern Star, Skull and Bones, and whoever they are next week. But the fundamental bottom line knowledge is Moabite Moorish history and culture in this land, not somewhere else. And Africa is not a Keeblon there. Northwest Africa and Southwest Africa is North America, Central America, South America. The Amazon River is not over there. The Amazon River is in South Africa, right here in the West. Do you understand? Now, the concept is that people are wrongly under the concept that the European sons established this with the peregrinos that you call pilgrims, which means wanderers. that they established this government out of some moral principles and they established the United States. That's a lie. The United States already existed. Do you understand? The United States is a federation of the Moabite tribes that they fakedly call Indians, and we're not Indians. My grandmother is Blackfoot, that they call fakery Blackfoot. On my mother's side, they're Cherokee, that they call Kitawa. And I ain't Indian. I'm indigenous to the land, but I ain't Indian. One of the traps that a lot of the Shemnites fell into, because you have a lot of sellout. A lot of different tribes that sold out, but that didn't constitute an agreement with the nation. They fake it in history that it does. This is the reason why they had to murder so many of them. Do you understand? Separate the children from the mothers, because the mothers carried the principles of civilization and passed them down, because we had a matriarchal system. You understand? Like in the South areas, as an example, when they call Puerto Rico, they call it rich port, because the women carried the gold, and most of the time we'd put gold on the neck, and it would have no seam. You couldn't take it off, and the family wealth would be displayed by the women. Or we put coins and stuff on jewelry on their turbans, mix it into their turbans, and they wear bands around here, and they would cut their heads off and cut their arms off for the gold, and they call it rich port. That's how Puerto Rico got its name. And they're Moors, mixed Moors. They mix Moors with Europeans and Chinese. Do you understand? So one of the problems with us is because we've been mixed, is that our concepts are wrong, and we keep thinking that we're different people when we're really not. We're just expanded of the same expanded family. And the base language here on this side is part Aramaic, Hebrew, and what you call Algonquian, that they call Indian different languages, and what they call Moorish Latin, that they keep calling falsely Spanish, which it is not. It's Latin, Moorish Latin, multiple dialects. And so one of the deals with the Inquisitionists, when they merged their kingdoms and defeated the Moors and started conquering the West, is one of the commitments of the White Camellia, the Klan, and the Knights of Columbus was to wipe us out of history. Do you understand? This is the reason why you cannot go and find the linear history. But that's also why you have all these secret societies that consequently and curiously keep wearing the Moorish fez. And you never figured it out. Do you understand? Then they have badges all across their car with the Moorish star upside down for Eastern Star. Then they have the compass and the square and the pyramid. They have Allah and Mecca and Morocco and Medina. And they'll name all the lodges after a mother, woman, the matriarchal systems, etc. And then rewrite the history and tell the people that they came from someplace else. These are the same people that thought the world was flat. But if you believed it, that's fine. But we were here for not 1,000 years, for multiple thousands of years. That flag, that Moroccan flag with that 5-pointed green star, been flying over here in government structure for over 10,000 years. Before the great drownings, they had drowning first, and the great burns and burning of the temples of Luxor, like in Mizraim, that they call Egypt. It's not Egypt, it's Mizraim, etc., that they call Alexandria today, was the largest library in the world, and they match it with the Library of Congress here being now the largest library in the world. So, and they have the history of all the countries here too. So one of the keys is that Moors cannot be deported. See, it's sort of like one of the conflicts that people have here is that they're in the frame of mind that we're all right and we start from here. And so whenever they go forward, it always becomes jumbled or confusing because it becomes non-linear, and you're always playing detective. And then nobody's talking. And then those who are talking want to commit you to some kind of oath or want you to sell your life, your arm to them. You know what I mean? Then it's a secret. Get the point? This is the problem that the scholars and the world governments had with Noble Drew Ali, because he came and he stepped on the Roman seal.
He did what?
He stepped on the Roman seal.
The Roman seal?
That's a code. See, the deal was that this basic information was not to be found out by you.
Right.
The commitment was that this general body of information would be hidden for at least 300 years, maybe 1,000. That accepted social concept, though not limited to, would be revealed to you in the William Lynch letter along the James River, when they talked about using the mental warfares of turning the men against the women, the young against the old, distorting the family. But there's more to that. It also had to do with the psychology and the knowledge of how to distress the womb and how to make a slave. By stressing the womb of the woman and controlling the womb, then you control the nation. The problem is that they cannot deport us from anywhere. No matter what what negatives come about due to the social corruption here, they cannot deport us. So they have to continue to build jails. Do you understand? I want to make another point. This is Brother Noah. Get a 3 flag stand later, and you put the flag, the amity flag there. That's the Stars and Stripes. Now, what most people don't know is that this continental flag is the flag of the United States. The Stars and Stripes is our agreement for commerce. Yes, what they did is buried this and then told you the Stars and Stripes was the national flag. The Stars and Stripes is not the flag of any natal people. It does not identify with any bloodline whatsoever. It is a flag that came out of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1787, which was a culmination before the Articles of Confederation and the adoption of the Constitution, when we decided to stop this silliness, meaning wise men decided to stop the pendulum, because the wars between the Moors and the Roman nations have been stagnating civilization. Meaning it's no different than the position that we're in now, with all the lies that have been told amongst government, and they're caught in a catch-22. They're going to create all-out war, a whole global war, or they're going to tell the truth. They're trying not to tell the truth. If they don't tell the truth, you're going to have chaos on this planet like you've never seen it.
You're right.
Do you understand?
You're right.
And it's going to be because of a lie.
It's already started.
Yes, but it's going to be because of a lie.
That's right.
The lie is being exposed.
Yes. Now that's where we are. That's where the problem is. And the problem that you have is that you have Asiatics and Europeans that have been set up in the political arena being in 2 different camps. But in fact, you actually have, in the real truth history, you have Asiatics and Europeans who agreed to this structure. And then you had Europeans who were undermining it. So this is where your matrix is. So whenever you have an issue before any court and you want to argue an issue, no matter what it is, and this is where people get trapped. Now I'm going to ask you, little sister, Princess. Princess. You ever heard the name or the word America, Americans? Are you familiar with it? You hear it a lot, don't you? Now we're going to run through a test. I'm going to show you something. This is a real key that you can use in law, etc. Whenever somebody's trying to trap you. Look how subtle it is. What do you know about that word, that name? You can talk a little louder, honey, because right now you're the teacher.
I know that people that live in America are Americans.
Hmm?
I know that people that live in America are Americans.
All right, where's America? Geographically located. All right, let's look at this. You see here, Falkland Islands, huh?
Yeah.
You see the tip of Argentina, Chile, huh?
Yeah.
It's Argentina, Chile, right?
Yeah.
You see up here, Alaska,
Yes.
huh? You see up here, part of Greenland up here, just up here, just below Greenland,
Yes.
or next to it, huh?
Yeah.
Latitudinally, coming down here. You see these islands here?
Yes.
You see down here one of our old sacred places, Easter Island?
Yes.
That's America. Central, north, south. Tell me who's the American president?
George Bush.
Oh, he's the president of Brazil? Because that's the United States. You know that's the United States of America, don't you? Because it is. You know El Salvador is the United States of America. Did you know that?
No.
Mexico is the United States of America. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
That's because they cheated you in school. They did a deliberate dumb down so that you wouldn't understand that United States is a generic term. That's just like me saying woman or girl. So if I say woman or girl, am I addressing anyone specifically? You can answer, but you don't have to, do you? But if you assume that you're the only woman in here, you'll say that loosely, would never even give it a second thought, wouldn't you? Then all they need to do is create a fraudulent jurisdiction that's assumed and you don't challenge it, then they take you in it and they have no authority whatsoever. There's no such thing as the American president. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as the American flag. It doesn't exist. There is a such thing as American presidents and American flags that come from here on up and all across all these islands. So when somebody comes before you and starts talking law and starts talking like he has jurisdiction over matter, the first thing is what you're supposed to ask him, oh, wait, no problem. Where's your nationality card? That's for one. Then your certificate, delegation of authority order, that proves the jurisdiction of whichever America you're talking about and whatever constitutional government you are aligned with. Then we can start talking the subject matter. Maybe, if I feel like it. Because you haven't even proven jurisdiction, you haven't even proven who you are. What happens is we keep on assuming people have jurisdiction because they can say, you know, sis, I'm the agent of left-hand side of Bibelfetzer Incorporated. Where's your $5 from that bill I sent you? And you start saying, oh man, I didn't get my second job, and you start talking the subject, you start talking the jurisdiction. You give the jurisdiction because you haven't recognized that I didn't even establish it. Meaning that no one has authority in civilization or in government unless verified by the sovereignty of the people. Governments are established to protect, do you understand? And preserve and secure the existing, pre-existing rights of people. That's called inalienable rights and is more relative to what birthrights are. Do you understand, sister? I know not immediately, but I started off with you being involved because you need to recognize, and that is us plurally, that when somebody starts throwing that American loose to you, and the United States court, and the United States this, they can be talking about this, they can talk about this, and if they don't have any allegiance to the Constitution, they haven't set it up, they didn't prove anything to you. They can have you in some pirate court, and you don't even know it. And you agreed to it because you allowed the jurisdiction because you didn't challenge who they are in the first place. So there's a set of questions. Whenever you have an issue of controversy, particularly if they put you in a position where you have to defend yourself, remember at all times, one of the things that really got a lot of the secret societies upset and government upset, that really kind of broke the back of this thing that started this whole cycle in early 1900s when New Abdali started the Moorish Divine National Movement, and one of the first things he did was start issuing the indigenous people their nationality cards. That began a cycle that they didn't understand at the moment. But what it begins to establish is the true jurisdiction or true sovereign of the land. But if it's not used properly, you can't understand it. Do you understand? Meaning that, like right now, say me and you, Griswold, say, man, oh, we finished now, let's go have some lunch, man. They got some nice kelp sandwiches back there and nice vegetable stuff, and so we're going to go, let's go to Russia right now. So now we're going to go to Russia. We jumped in Russia and we're going to start talking trash. Well, the Russian Constitution says you can't do this and you can't do that. First thing they want to argue is, We don't have a problem either way or the other. Where's your nationality card that gives you any authority to even argue law here? Now, if you're dealing with an issue of controversy between more than one state, etc., we can deal in consular court or court of general sessions or some international court. But you can't come here and start arguing law. You understand? You're starting to talk privileges then. But if you're a citizen, and you can only be a citizen, then you can be a natural citizen of the land, and you can be a political citizen of an organized government. Both of which, and more to the second than the first, requires proof. You know, it is no different than, you know, like under a colorable jurisdiction, like say, for instance, like in a jurisdiction where they steal the people's rights of travel and then incorporate it and incorporate the person and then put them in a commercial entity and then regulate the people's right of travel and then rob them that way under the guise of law. And then if a private security officer, because they're not officers really, so that's wrong. If a private security agents, which they call police, because they're not elected, so they're not officers, stops a person, whether you call them citizen or not, stops a person and asks that person, where is their license? Well, the person should also ask them, who is your delegation of authority order? Because that's where they're supposed to have received certified authority from the Congress of the United States Republican form of government that they have a right to even question the citizens under limited conditions for security purposes only, and if you committed a crime. And only one can really do that is a sheriff and anyone he deputizes, because he's the only true law according to the law. Do you understand? Anyone else is just another citizen of some private corporate agencies that's talking trash because they don't have a right to question the citizens. See the difference between a Republican form of government and a democracy? And why they always run around telling you about a democracy? It's not a democracy. No democracy was established here. I don't know what anyone's talking about. Except that somebody's been setting you up to steal your birthrights. And as soon as a politician, I don't care who they are, start running their mouth and start saying democracy, immediately recognize that they're an enemy. Forget about what they say. Forget about whether they're smiling. Forget about whether they're nice guys. They belong to the secret society of clubs of inquisitionists whose mission was to overthrow the United States Republic. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And to institute and maintain slavery bureaucratically.
Yeah.
Do you understand? I don't care if they say something in your favor. Do you understand? Don't be deceived.
The bottom line is the same.
Exactly correct. Now that's for start. That's for starters. So that's for starters. So one of the first things that we're going to do to start correcting this thing is anyone who claims to have any capacity, authoritative capacity in government, they don't move on anything with you without you questioning them right on down the line, starting off with their nationality card, their DOAO, Delegation of Authority Order, certified number to the Congress of the United States Republic or agency where their authority can be verified on the public record. And if it can't be, or if they're not forthcoming with it, or they don't have it in their possession, you have no problem with that. That person at that time has no authority, no different than if they stop a person under color of law on the street, asking them for a license, and they don't have a license, according to the colorable contract that they forced the people into, they're not supposed to be driving on the street. Am I correct? Likewise, if they don't have a DOAO, they're not supposed to be operating in government.
Excuse me. Name that again so you can write that down. I got nothing.
Here you go.
Delegation of authority.
Delegation of authority order. And what that would be, what they would claim a license would be to a slave on the street to travel the land, is what that is to anybody who says they have any authority in the first place. You don't know. There's a person that came from McDonald's down there. You know, the guy was that back there sweeping the grease out of the grease pit back there down at McDonald's. And he went around the other side, put on a uniform, jumped in the car and ran to stop you and start telling you owe him something?
Yeah.
Like a highwayman? Well, DOAO with verifiable numbers is what identifies that person. So if somebody pulls out some ID and tells you, well, I'm an agent of the Bibelfechter of the left-hand side of the Ostbasseldorf of the United States, and you say, oh, please, don't say that again, I'm so nervous, there's so much money, you know, don't even go there. You ask them for ID, and a driver's license is not an ID. That verifies that you have a contract with a private corporation. Do you understand? That politicians have a contract with to get a kickback for robbing you, forcing you into contracts with private institutions, which they don't have the authority to do, but they did it.
Ooh.
You get the point?
Say that one again. Say it just a little bit slow, please.
Politicians who were slaveholders dumb the people down, saying this is a democracy. They created an admiralty court called traffic court, listed it under crimes, because the Constitution only allows a criminal court and a civil court. And you can't try a civil case in a criminal court, and you can't try a criminal case in a civil court, can you? Now, where did the Constitution set up traffic court? To stop the people for freedom of passage on the land.
That's right.
Apartheid. So they created traffic court, which really is an apartheid court. So that slaves, so-called slaves, could never be free. Because if they could stop your movement, just like you dam up a river on a stream, you create death. Because movement is life. And so you can regulate the economy simply. If I want to break your family up, all I got to do is send out a fake officer to keep stopping you on the corner, take your license, and you can't make a living. But they never had that right. Government never had that right. Now these are private corporate entities that operating on private charter that's using supreme law of the land to interfere with the rights of the citizens and the natural people and robbing them. Legally. Not lawfully, legally. Legal and lawful is not the same thing. So don't get that caught up either. Do you understand? Because the supreme law is the Constitution. Now, let's look at this. Now, let's back to this other point. And the key thing, because I know you already know certain things already. So the first issue with an issue of controversy is the status. That means, who are you? Are you a party to the matter? Not only, who are you? The party. Oh, you're Russian? Oh, no problem with that. Where's your documents that say it? Not your mouth. That's how you challenge jurisdiction. You don't say, I challenge the jurisdiction. You challenge the jurisdiction understanding these principles. You get the point? So, if you say you have authority, I'm not going to argue about with that. Oh, no problem. I have no problem whatsoever. Alisa,
Yes.
I have no problem with that whatsoever. She just said I had to do something. Here's my nationality card. Now put yours there. Because nationality is where the birthright is. And for the law to be governing you, then you must be part of a nation. Am I correct? Then if you say if you're Russian, you're not saying that you're what? Asiatic? Because we're all Asiatic. But that's not the point. Russia is a part of Asia. Am I correct?
Okay, that's all.
Below it is India. Am I correct? Which ain't India. That's Hindustan. Right?
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah.
Oh, and so where's your nationality card? So how you gonna be talking the law of a land that gives authority, and you haven't even proven who you are? Because this is a jurisdiction of diversity.
Why do you have to prove who you are? You have God-given birthright.
Can I go to Russia? Can I go to Misraim? Can I go to Saudi Arabia? Can I go to different parts of the world? Many of where I'll be accepted as one of the people, unless by accent or by culture, they recognize that I come from another area. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And start demanding issues of law, and I haven't proven who I am. The first issue is status. Who am I? So now we've established who we are, right? Just like if we're coming in the issue of controversy, right? Just well, as an example, just like say for instance in any issue of a legal or lawful issue, when you present yourself, present, that's really status, although they've corrupted it. So you present yourself. Now, the reason why, quote unquote, as it has been in United States processes of law, why Negroes, blacks, and coloreds could not represent themselves in court, because Negro, black, and colored are corporate fictions. And if the person agreed that they are that, then, you know, they have a right to make that contract. See, because government's not there to interfere with your right to make contract. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you claim to be something that someone else coined to name their chattel, and you agree to that, logically you come under Christian Black Code 1724, and it's no problem because you agree to that. Because there's no such people listed on this planet anywhere in the human family. It does not exist. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So, but there are laws that regulate such chattel or such things. Can't call it human because it's not part of the human family. Never made a law, contract, constitution, so therefore you cannot bring it before a free national court and argue issues of law because it doesn't apply to it. Now, because a person agrees to be it, that's on them. If they're ignorant of their birthright, whether somebody took it from them or whether they agreed to it, both the effect is the same. Now, of course, you can get maybe the family that enslaved their family line to come up and speak for them, because they can't speak for themselves, because they're barred from law. They're in a position of no judicio standi, have no standing in law. Of course, if they don't know that, and then somebody gives them, on this other hand, some documents that make statements about law that really sound, this is really deep. And you know, he's really got to do this. He got to give me a sandwich according to this. And you start arguing all that. Oh yeah, I got this. Just wait till I tell him he's got to give me a cheese sandwich. Oh, and you talking big stuff, and they still take you to some fraud jurisdiction you ain't figured out because you agreed to be Negro, black, and colored because they have no standing in law. This is the reason why they want to hide the Moorish connection, because the United States Republic came out of the dissolution of the Moroccan government here, United States of Morocco. Do you understand? That's why the United States of America here in the central part has no national name. Like here you got the United States of Mexico, you got the United States of Brazil, right? You got the United States of El Salvador, let's see, El Salvador, a couple more that are United States. So you have a lot of United States of America. This is the reason why they'll just use the name or the word America. And if you never stop and think, you never recognize that that's not attached to anything here. They'll claim jurisdiction here, and they'll claim jurisdiction here. And they'll claim jurisdiction here, and they'll claim jurisdiction here. And they'll claim jurisdiction here. They'll claim everywhere.
But you know what they do?
They bring the law of the seas because they don't have no jurisdiction. They don't have no law. And they bring it on the land, and you're not debating it because you are assuming that they have jurisdiction, and they're assuming the jurisdiction that you give them.
So in other words, what you're saying then, under the United States law, that yellow it's all under the admiralty law.
It's exactly correct. They're pirates.
Oh, wait a minute. Then that explains an example. We went to Chinatown for dinner, right?
Yes.
For a meal. They were taping us while we were eating. I became upset.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if you think about it. I became upset.
Mm-hmm.
Very uncomfortable. Okay, with that. The gentleman, I said to him, are you taping us while we eat? The waiter can barely speak English, but he can speak English well enough to say, we take all, what do you call us? What's the word? Civilians. So I said to him, I said, civilians? Why we're not in the military. My mind got to clicking.
No, civilians, meaning the common people, they have whatever purpose they have. It doesn't really matter. I wouldn't be that concerned, to be honest with you, myself.
Yeah, see, the way we think, though, as soon as you say civilian, I automatically go connect that with admiralty.
Well, no, because that'd be military. So civilians is relative to the common people, to the civil people.
Well, then I'm brainwashed.
You would say the military as opposed to civilian. Civilian implies non-military.
Can I say something to you?
Yes.
I'm 59 years old, okay? That's the first time in my life that I've been anywhere and been referred to a situation like that, type of setting, as a civilian.
Yeah.
And like I said, by him saying that and by the atmosphere being what it is,
Yeah.
okay, that to me, that gives
It probably has some other motives other than what he said to you. No matter what he said, the motives are probably other than that. It may have been innocent, and it may have been just a U.S. democracy agent.
Time will tell.
Yeah. But it does. But it, you know, my position has always been with Moors. We stand for the law. We really have nothing to hide. You know, I'm just saying we have nothing to hide. What you're dealing with is a government of criminals that people have assumed, and even conscious people, to be the law and give them credit for that. Other deal is, as soon as someone comes before you and say they're an agent or the United States this, and United States that, US this, and you give them the credit for being who they are without a challenge, which is the greatest mistake, which is what has secured the very corruption that everyone's arguing about. Do you understand? So I'm bringing you back to the importance of what that nationality card actually is. It's the beginning of the truth of the establishment of the truth of jurisdiction, which is a broad issue. Very broad, but it's key to the whole game. Because what happened is you got foreign entities who have been claiming and assured jurisdiction by acquiesced agreement and contractual agreement with people who don't even know that they're not who they say they are, but have assumed that they are. And so it had allowed them security of being in a seat and starting to make judgments over you. And you never questioned them. And they become secured in it. Meaning that you become secured in the corruption of fiction, of both fiction of brand names and a fiction of subordinate position. They become corrupted in a position of sovereign superiority and authority that both of the parties never exist, and we're both guilty. So the first thing is not to, when you start getting into this information, do not get caught up in the race game. Do not get caught up in the color game. Do not get caught up in that self-righteousness because we've been injured at this time. Oh, they're dirty and we're good type thing. Don't get caught up there. You have to start breaking these things down in their component parts and then reassembling them and understanding what you're dealing with. Moors gave up their birthright when they started accepting Negro, black, colored, and following after the idol gods of Europe that they knew little of, gave up their culture, gave up their birthright, fell into servitude, been transacting business in alien names for quite a few generations, thinking that they're secured, discovering that they're not, and now they're pissed. If you get the point. You understand?
The stupid white people follow right behind.
No, the deal is that we're white people. See, this is the deal.
They followed right behind them.
Now, this is the deal. This is the trap.
Yep.
And this is the same thing I told to Emily Ford about 8 or 9 years ago. She came to the round table. When she was talking about issues that were happening with the free men, with the Europeans, which are a lot of times different principles that we'll stand for, colorable government will compare us with a lot of these principles and will imply that we're separatists and all that kind of crap, which is totally a lie. The fact of the matter is that they're criminals and we're standing for the law. What we need to be clear is that's what the position is. The people must be very clear. Don't assume because they have the seats that they're the law and you're trying to ask them for recognition. Understand that you're the law and you're telling them what the position is. They know that the public is dumb and they're using color of law to usurp the law and stand on that. In other words, they're holding a colorable posture knowingly, but are confident that the masses of the public don't know and are using public policy.
That's right.
Do you understand?
Yep.
To operate on. And what we need to always be thinking about is that's where they are. And they haven't even changed the game because they haven't recognized a need to. Do you understand what I'm saying? What happens is that people who become conscious, and this is what I told Emily Ford a few years ago, about 8 years ago, something like 8, 9 maybe, she came to the round table. And she came to the round table, she said, can I come to the round table? Is that all right? I said, round table's open. And she was telling me about the problems that different problems they were having with the different freemen's group, and why they burnt stuff and all that kind of stuff. And I said, well, look, our principles are the same, but the status is different. I said, now, and this is the problem that like Europeans have. When they took out of the Whiggamore Party, took on the white caste, do you understand? And then start calling themselves white people. They gave up their birthright.
That's right.
Do you understand? So what happens is, when the Tories discover that they no longer have allegiance to the Whigs party, do you understand? And then start trying to go back to the Republican form of government that the Moors and the Europeans set up, which would undermine the Inquisitionists, they will kill them and burn them. And burn the evidence.
Who told you? Excuse me?
Do you understand?
Yes, I do. I'm shocked that you
See?
understand.
Oh, I'm telling you why. Because when a European starts talking to issues of sovereignty, they must understand that the only way that Europeans have a right of authority in our land is through constitutional Republican form of government only to all the several states. Outside of that, they're only resident aliens. And since they agreed to be white people, which took them out of the constitutional fold of government, which made them enemies to the United States Republic, which has been veiled over. It ain't disappeared, it's been veiled over with this corporate conspiracy. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, so unconscious to many of the European sons, they're trying to get back to the Republic and not tell the Asiatics the truth about themselves. No different than the problem that the U.S. is having with the Yiddish that are in Palestine, that are calling themselves Jews, who threaten them to tell us the real deal. And they got to give them anything they want. They can have spies in the government. They can mess with the White House's old lady, girlfriend, and they'll give them $1 billion tomorrow if they ask for it.
That's right.
You understand? I'm serious.
I know you are, you're right.
And you know why? Because they know we're the Jews. I'm just giving you little keys. I'm giving you little keys.
Let me say this to you. If nothing else, we learned in our communities as children growing up, we would, and I saw it with my own 2 eyes. A true Jew is a black Jew. No, that's not true. You must correct. Correct me. I'm listening.
Black is the code for a slave. Once you start taking the fiction and making it retroactive, you just again gave up your birthright.
So how
do you do it? One of the first lessons is you are not Negro, black, or colored, or Ethiopian. You are Moors.
So in other words, the true Jews were Moors.
There was Moabite Canaanite blood. And Moor is just a modern name for Moroccan or a Moroccan American, which is a corruption of Moroccan. And you got Moabite Canaanite Hittites. Mostly of Moabites, you might have had some of the Chaldeans, Abyssinian tribes were dealt with a Jew creed, but Jew is really a degree in ancient culture.
And that's a religion, but then
Jew is really a degree of knowledge in ancient culture, not really a bloodline, though we may be Hebrew. Do you understand? Tribal.
Yeah, not only that, they're known for education.
Our problem is that our concepts are wrong. Yeah. Once you start allowing sorcerers to control the name, because this is the key to sorcery. Once you control the name, you can put your spirit on it. You create something that was not. You name it, you put your spirit on it, then the law applies to that you regulate within that jurisdiction. Once you get someone else to agree to be in that jurisdiction or to be that which they are not, you have them. But they must do it willingly, because everything in civilization operates by covenant, by a contract. This is the reason why in any proper issues of adjudication, they ask you, do you understand? Meaning, do you agree? Because they can't proceed because you haven't bond. You haven't given them leave. So they say, and you know, you really got that eyeglass case in your pocket. Do you understand? He said, yeah. All right, now they got jurisdiction. You're supposed to say, no, I don't know. Explain to me. Well, no, you're being difficult. And you know that's an eyeglass case in your pocket. You say, what? You said it. I didn't say it. See, long as that's going on, he can't move. Anything he does, it can be overturned, or he's actually violating his jurisdiction if he proceeds. But if you don't know that, he can trick you into walking into that false jurisdiction that you're arguing about in the first place. And then he proceeds, and he goes past status, he accepts jurisdiction, and the improper venue can be the same thing as lacking jurisdiction. He got that assumed, and he starts adjudicating. That's why you don't talk the matter.
That's right.
You don't talk the matter. It is nothing to discuss. We haven't dealt with this.
Do not address the issue.
1, 2, 3. Hey, what are you talking about? What's in the box of the Cheerio box? You haven't proved that you're a party, that you have any authority to discuss this issue. Where's your nationality card?
You know what? Why are we allowing our children to go to these schools?
Do we have much choice? Why? You ask why. Do we have much choice? Yes and no. That's a qualified yes or no. One, because, let me see. Most of the people I know called Negro, Black, and Colored who agree that build more churches and liquor stores than they build anything other institutions. Of course, they're saved and nobody else is. What else you want to know?
I came to a conclusion.
Who are these?
Have you?
Stupidity is a product of education.
Yeah.
And it's the only product of education.
Yes. Now, stupidity is a product
of education.
That's right.
Educated illiterates. This is why anytime that you go into any ancient civilization, culture, or history, one of the first statements that's presented to you, man, and you know man is generic. It does not mean masculine. It means woman and man, and it means woman first. Day. Do you understand? Man, know thyself. That's the first rule. If you don't know yourself, how can you know outside self? If you don't know self and first acknowledge self, and we're not saying that, you know, like from some cliche position. We're talking about information, not just data. A knowledge of yourself. Everything that you bring in comes into a false foundation and cannot come out to a balanced equation. It's impossible because it's against the laws of nature. We're not talking about the laws of belief, laws of prayer, laws of nature. And nature does not play nor forgive you because you want to go swimming in the middle of the ocean and talking about, well, they're goldfish and they're sharks. Because they think you're a meal, and it's nothing personal, and the devil didn't do it if he bites your foot. I mean, do you understand? And we need to really get away from beliefs and start getting to knowledge and being able to separate. One of the most important things of how modern religion has served corrupt government, and the reason they support it is because it's been used to suppress civilization, to stagnate knowledge. Do you understand? To steal the people's quote unquote, undoubtedly I say this, steal your reasoning mind. Once they get that, they don't have to worry about the body. All they need to do is put agents amongst you who have a fez on in secret, take their fez off, whether they're in church, lodge, synagogue, wherever they were this week, and then come amongst you and start playing. You know, we really ought to keep hope alive, and you know, it's one of these days. You got $5, and you know the Lord, and you know I just got a message that they was getting ready to turn the sun out, and we have to collect some money for God. Let me get myself together. Did you cash your mother's gold ring in that she left to you and all this stuff? We'll buy a prayer rug, and this is what we've been. This is what we've been supporting.
But don't forget, because now what they've done, they brought in a contract.
Of course.
And let me tell you something.
Binding a law.
And they get pissed with you when you say, I'm sorry, I'm not signing anything. Okay? And they say, well, you got to give your tithes, but you got to put down how much. No.
Now, where'd that come from?
And that's a contract.
Yes, and the tithing came from Sylvester II, and they lied and said Jesus said it. Sylvester II instituted the tithing, which means 1/10, which means is really derived from Roman tax. The same Romans that assassinated Yeshua, and then later, 325 years afterward, voted and called him Jesus, which is not a translation, nor a transliteration. It's really from the planet Jupiter, because they wanted to adopt some of the old culture, but they were burying it, and Jupiter is Zeus. And that's where they got Jesus from. Then they mixed a little Krishna in it and made up a personality, although the brother did do a lot of the work that they said. He was a social reformer and a prophet. But his name was Yeshua ben Yosef, not Jesus. That was part of the Nicene Council. And so we even go into all of this, and even before that, even with the Punic Wars, you must pull all of that together and understand that our relationship is a continuation of ancient things. Don't look at current.
That's right.
Do not look at the Spanish, quote unquote, Spanish-American War and the Punic Wars as different. Look at them as a continuation of the same wars over many generations. Do not look at any difference between the Battle of Tours near Poitiers and the Christian Crusades. Don't look at them as any different. Do not look at the French Revolution and the quote-unquote, generically coded American Revolution as different, because they're not. And they're all related. And so is your final fall to slavery and your branding as Negro, blacks, and colored. You're tied to that whole series of mess. And this is the world's longest revolution. And here you are. And we're trying to fix it. You understand? Once you understand that true part of the history, and you understand that you're already here, they didn't bring you from no place, and we're not Indians, and we're not Indians. You understand? And I'm not Cherokee and Kitawa. Do you understand? However, it doesn't stop there, and it may change if I go some other area. And just like from the Algonquian and Iqua, they're nothing more than confederations, just like we got a Republican and a Democratic Party. And once you understand that, you'll stop saying that they're nations or people. They're political confederations. They're federations. Do you understand? And the different tribes went into different ones at different times. They leave one going to the other. It just dealt with northern and southern hemispheres of the North Continent. Do you understand? Once the Asiatics started allowing the usurpers to name them and to designate the qualifications of who they are, they actually went into a false jurisdiction. No different when you agree to be Negro, black, and colored. So therefore, a lot of the sellout Shemnites amongst us, that's the Moors mixed with Chinese, that told people that they're the indigenous people. We're the ancient ones. They're our children, mixed with Mongolians, and you call Chinese, and Europeans, who are also our sons. You must understand that. And Europeans didn't come from Europe. They came from this area. You see this? Argentina in there, and up here near Negro River, Rio Negro, and the Amazon River, right in that area, and this area of Patagonia that we call today Argentina is where the Europeans developed, and they're our children from experiments on ourselves. And they're called Patagonian blondes. And what we did, because it was near the equator, we took them to Albion. Because the equator area was making lesions on their skin, we took them to Albion, and mostly the sons, because in nature, the genetic nature of the being, that males are more degenerate than females. Females are more perfect to the species. And females carry the strength of the gene or the family. in nature. We're not talking about politics. You got to put your beliefs aside. Dump them in the garbage can. Because I got a birthmark. It's called a navigating God. Nav-eel. Navel. That's the common birthmark of everything that breathes and walks on this planet. It ain't no strawberry. I got the strawberry right here. Wait, can you see it? No, that's the birthmark. And everybody got it. You understand? Adam had a mom, so don't buy that game. Get the point? Huh? So once you understand this and get rid of the fiction, then you can get back to the matriarchal principle of nature herself. Because you don't mess with Mother Nature because she ain't going to play with you. You understand what I'm saying to you? The earth is a womb. The universe is a womb. The mind is a womb. And all females come here with a nation already in them, even when they're in their mom. Do you understand? Once we understand these fundamental nature principles, then you understand in the Declaration of Independence, when the reference was made to nature's laws and nature's God and the inalienable rights having nothing to do with government. Are you understanding? Are you following me? Huh? Yeah. So you must go back to the natal principle, or the nationality, which is the foundation of civilization. Do you understand? Then contracts or agreements or covenants are made amongst men to govern their association, that you've been calling unions of anything on this planet. Now let's look at something and keep this in mind. So what happened is, because you're dealing with the celestial equator, and so the celestial equator runs through here, and so anything in here, you have a fluctuation of roughly 23 degrees on both sides, and you have a fluctuation as the Earth bends on its anode and cathode principle and revolves around the sun on 12 cycles, while the moon revolves around the Earth on 13 cycles, which gives you your 12 and your 13, which is your what? Your 25, which is your 7, your circle 7. That is the knowledge of this workings of this whole thing. Do you understand? That is called the zodiac. Do you understand? The forces, and that includes the forces of all the planets while this is taking place. That's really your zodiac, or the first woman that you call Zodiacus. Zodiacus. Do you understand? And all, that's where you get the word zoo, is actually derived from that. It means all things of the flesh that come from one source. And so people don't know, called God.
For the Circle 7, can you take out the note, the Federal Reserve note, and...
Oh, take out your Federal Reserve note? Yes, let's deal with Circle 7 in government. We're going to give you a Masonic code. Take out your dollar, what they call dollar. You know it's not dollar, it's fiat. Take it out. I don't want it now, though. I ain't doing no play. Take out your one, because we're going to go through a little lesson. And this is important. But we're going to go back to this point. And this will be good, too, for people to understand, because I'm going to finish this and I'm going to go to this. Now, see, so what happens is that the Moors gathered up the European sons and took them to Albion. Albion, after the Moors fell, is called England. And the reason why we took them to England, what you call actually the Caucasus Mountains, is because we're more compatible with their skin. It was not because of all this evil stuff that people call them, you know, evil of Yaqub and all that. No. Do you understand? One of the problems that the Moors made is that the Moors were creating a servant for themselves, and now they turn around, the servant become your God. That's your ancient karma. That's why you really need to know the old ancient history. Do you understand?
That's what the light-skinned Moors came in at.
What you call the mulattoes.
They were great.
The mulattoes are later. When you have around, particularly around, like say in the Yucatan, where we did a lot of astrology in the ancient days. There's a pyramid of the sun. Like we have more pyramids in here, and like now down along the Nile, down the Mississippi River, that's really Nile, and it goes opposite, because it's really pulled for fresh water, etc., from the atomic lakes, which you call Ontario, Erie, and all those really atomic lakes. All right, and the mist will always be across them. because we use that for fresh water in the Western Hemisphere. But the whole point of it is, some of the experiments took place there in the Temple of the Sun. We abandoned that area because we started new strains of disease, specifically with their multiple strains, was gonorrhea, syphilis, and tuberculosis from the experiments. We took the European sons and we called them at that time lepers or leprechauns, right? And we took them to Albion because the mountains were more compatible with their skin. This is where you get that misconcept, and I say it is because it's true, misconcept of the caveman. That's a misconcept. And that's where they get the misconcept of the missing link. That's why they can't find it, because it doesn't exist. Do you understand? The theory is a fraud of the argument about the primate and the evolution into the man. No, the truth of it is the primate animals, also with genetic experiments with flowers, and the primate and the mixers in the Moabite woman's womb, and that's how we produce the European sons, which is also implied in the 25th, the 2 and the 5 chapter of Genesis, with the two sons, twins from the same mother, but they're two different nations. One is ruddy, pale, and hairy. The other is normal. One steals the other's birthright, and then reverse pattern. That's your karma. See, we'll tell you a lot of history in the astrology books, but people don't know what they're reading. Just like they'll read, you know, and David, the son of this brother, and the son of this, and the son of this, and they think they're, you know, generational sons where you have children. They're dynasties. So the concepts are wrong. But it's important for the Inquisitionists to tamper with the information in order to distract you, in order to dumb the world down, because they could not conquer the world. You can't defeat the Moors. They had to remove the Moors from the land, move them from your mind, because they couldn't defeat you physically. Because there's only one people on the planet, that's us. And everybody else is derivative. But yet we're all the same people. And once you start accepting that racism stuff, hatred, divisionism, all that crap entered, and they played you. And they've been playing you even now. That's why once you really understand the truth, Moors, and particularly Moors who understand the truth of the Great Seal, don't play into that hate game. Don't play into that divisional game. They stick with the law, and they stick with divine, moral, and ethical principles. Because that's civilization. Do you understand? Outside of that, you got anarchy, and that's not in anybody's interest. Because Mother Nature don't play. And she does not seek to preserve anything or anyone that does not seek to preserve themselves. And since we're tied together, the harm that you do to another, you do to yourself. It's just a matter of time. And that's the truth on how what you call ethical and moral principles are derived, because that's built in nature. It has nothing to do with your belief systems. Do you understand? And so that goes back to the Circle 7 and understanding it. But let's go back to this point. Let's go back to your dollar bill that I don't want. All right. Now you see that one there? Now take that I won't call it a dollar bill because it's not. This artifice, and fold it right in half. And then look at that light. And you'll notice that you'll see one seal. You got obverse, right? Are we clear on this? I don't want to go past this because I'm gonna make this very clear before I go into this. Status, first issue at law. Jurisdiction and venue is determined and clear for the record. Not they saying, you know, yeah, I think we have jurisdiction. No, bull. Documented for the record. If it ain't documented, they don't have it. That's how you challenge jurisdiction without saying, I challenge the jurisdiction of the court.
That's right. That's right.
You want in evidence before the people all issues in the matter, as well as the persons who claim to be parties to the matter. So status, so I put down my nationality card, here's yours. If you don't produce it, we ain't going no further. Now you see the problem, this is the problem that they're having with the immigration problem. You know what that thing, thing they did, what I think it was 94. I forget what that article thing that they passed in California. Well, resolution, because they were trying to stop the Mexicans from coming up into California because they're costing the economic system so much money because of the children going to school and they have to change, or they have to set up language classes and stuff like that. And they passed a resolution, I think it was 22 or something like that. I forget what it was. I apologize for forgetting what it was because it didn't stick in my mind, you know, other than I understood that it's a fraud. The point was that they were trying to hold them out, and then you had some politicians start talking about, well, issuing nationality cards, national identity cards, in order to stop foreigners from coming into the land. See, but government officials who are Masons anyway, Skull and Bones and Eastern Stars, etc., they already know the real truth that there's only two nations here. That's the Moorish nation and the Mexican nation. There's no other true nations on this continent. And the only people that know it in the masses is those in the secret societies.
That's right.
But the masses don't know that. But those who govern do know that. So what did they do when they start talking nationality card? They painted themselves in the corner. Because once they started arguing the nationality, it's only two people here. That's the Moors, descendants of the ancient Moabites, and the Mexicans, also descendants of the ancient Moabites. Get the point? Huh? And everybody else is either European, or from Asia, or some of the islands, but they're not aboriginal or indigenous to this land. So they have what you call, where do they derive their authority to govern here? There has to be some kind of covenant, don't they? Then they say, well, King George and guys and Charles going to give us grant. They ain't grant crap. They ain't grant something in England. They ain't grant nothing here. Because we had government here before they even had government. That's why it was important for them to burn. Do you get the point? Huh?
Yeah.
And why it was important for them to say India was here, as opposed to Asia, where they first said it was. Because when Pedro navigated the ships to the Atlantis Islands, which they call the Virgin Islands today, the archipelago, they didn't ever hit the mainland. Do you understand? All right. And so they calling us Indians there too, because all on the islands they find all these statues with feathers on, particularly on Easter Island, and they're thousands upon thousands of years old. They went to Cuba and they got a Moorish fort there. Puerto Rico, what they call San Juan, Moorish forts there. In Brazil, Moorish forts there. And they had to bury all this history. Do you understand? Because they were never able to come into the Western Hemisphere until they merged their kingdoms and defeated the Moors. So they had to wipe the Moors out of history because we ruled the planet. The 7 seas. Do you understand? So the Moorish Empire became the British Empire. Once you understand that, you understand why the sun neither rises or sets on the British Empire. Because it's really the Moorish Empire. Because we ruled the planet. And when they defeated the Moors, they inherited this, so to speak. Do you understand what I'm saying? You know, it's just like, for instance, let's go down Center City, right here. Go down here in Center City and look at the buildings like in Independence Hall and all that stuff. And they talk about, you know, George was walking around and they had rags on their feet and they were up here in Valley Forge and all that stuff, and with their little army, and they was coming between like the pyramid between here, Trenton and Princeton and all that stuff, and doing their stuff in Philly. And they had it kind of rough because you know, the guys didn't have shoes, they didn't have supplies, their logistics were poor and everything. Go look at those buildings and you tell me, would buildings with windowsills built this low, below your knee, be buildings that would be built in a time of war? And you look at the structure and you tell me, would you design a building like that, even with the architectural design, the details, etc., in a poor country? And particularly even in a time of war, they're not even war-designed buildings. That's more, they're too elaborate
And too much.
for a poor, oh yes. And why do you think that in Philadelphia, it's Philadelphia, not Philadelphia? Whenever they're digging in Philadelphia, you know, like, you know how they have security walls, you know, for safety when they're digging and stuff like that? If you notice in Philadelphia, more than most other places when they're digging, they'll put solid walls as opposed to just simply security fences. Did you ever wonder why? They'll build solid walls
So that you can't see what they're doing.
as opposed to just security fences more often than not, according to where they are. Do you know why?
To hide what they're doing. It's either to hide what they're doing.
No, it's two reasons. Number one, so-called artifacts, which is bull. They're plentiful here.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
And they prove the civilization is more ancient than ancient than ancient. That's number one. You'll find tablets, stones, things written in Hebrew, Aramaic, Algonquian, etc. And you'll find Venus, little Venus statues all over the place. And we're not talking about Venus that's in Rome. We're talking about Venus representing the planet Venus in an Asiatic form, which the Statue of Liberty was designed after. That's why it's in copper. Copper, that's the alchemical metal for Venus, which is also the star that's in your flag. Friday, green, Freya. Get the point? And she's standing, 70 degrees? And you come 70 degrees down into the bay of the harbor, and she stands right over what they call New Jerusalem or New Jersey. And she has the broken chain, then she has the torchlight for knowledge in the book of knowledge, torchlight for freedom, liberty, etc. This is Moabitus and it's Venus. And it's ancient. You'll find it all over on this side of the land. You'll find Venus statues all over, so worn that the worn is worn. Do you understand? Huh? Venus is also what they use to celebrate as a symbol. They celebrate the vernal equinox, what they call Easter. And that's where they also named it the secret society Eastern Star. I'm just throwing this at you so you get some ideas, because I know you have other information. These are simply keys, because you need to know these things in order to understand how to fight them. It's sort of like, you know how we learn certain law procedures and processes, and they're indeed good, but you must understand they all are based in, rightfully, the federal question. You always establish the federal question. Do you understand? But they're based in the federal question, but you must understand, for that to exist, something preceded by agreement. So there were agreements, contracts made before the adoption of that Constitution that you need to know about. Which is why Article 6 of that Constitution is so vital for you to keep in mind. Because we had government here before that Constitution was adopted. Do you understand? Now, what the deal is, if they don't honor our Republican form of government, we don't have a problem with that. At that time, they not only don't have any jurisdiction in law, they don't even have any right to be here. They're supposed to be deported. But under color of arms and under force of arms, they can stay here and use color of law to enforce color of law on the land, which is what they've been doing. You get the point? That's what you need to know about this whole game. And you go from there in your concepts. Do you understand? Now, them same judges, those same judges talking smack, and they do talk smack, acting like prosecutors, which is practicing law across the bench. Because remember, in any issue of controversy, a judge is the what? Is the payru. He's the payru of the scales of Libra. And he knows it. He got a fez. So let's look at this. Look on the back of your dollar bill. Look at the scale. Look at the Treasury seal. Now, see that Treasury seal? Now you see that fez? You recognize it?
Can you point out the treasury seal?
Now you see that scale on that treasury seal?
Can you put the dollar up so I can get it?
Oh, you won't be able to see it on this.
Yeah.
Good.
Maybe.
No, you won't. There's a treasury seal right here on the front.
Okay, hold on one second.
Now, you see those scales of Libra there? Huh? Right? Now, look at this. You know how they say justice? Like you see justice, to have a symbol of a woman, and she'll be blindfolded, and she'll be holding the scales, symbolizing Libra, sign of Libra, which is law. And you see the palace that they call the White House is made geometrically, if you're looking from the sky only, in the sign of Libra. You look at the landscape, it'll be the sign of Libra. And you'll see the Supreme Court is Jupiter, the glyph of Jupiter. And you'll see George Washington's mansion is Gemini. And it's all zodiacally and astrologically laid out. Monticello, but you can only see it from the air.
Okay.
When you see it from the air, it will be in like Gemini. See, all the signs are there. And then you have your compass and the squares and your stars. Now, you'll see as you go down, for all the main houses of government, it'll be within your compass. And then the legs of your compass will end on 3rd Street for 3 degrees of masonry. Do you understand? I'm just giving you, that's another lesson. But I'm just throwing that at you so that next time you look at a map of Washington, D.C., then you'll understand Chief Justice Ben Bey, who they renamed in history as Ben Banneker. And you'll understand what he was teaching them really, and what the real design of Washington, D.C. was, as opposed to, well, he was a good architect and he helped design the White House and all this stuff. No, it's only white because they painted it because we burnt it down. Well, tried to anyway. And they painted it. And so that's why I call it the White House. But it's actually sandstone. All right. Now, see this, that line going up there, that north-south line? That's called Peru. All right. That's the judge. The principle of the position in civilization that a judge holds is the position of Peru. In a position of controversy, you're brought in before the justice. That would be delegated authority by your constitution government through the people. He doesn't just have that authority. It is delegated. You understand? And he must be certified. Without certification, he's just some clerk or some magistrate claiming to be something that he's not, which they very often do. Do you understand what I'm saying? And you know that. And they get away with it because you don't challenge them. So don't let them start talking about, you know, give me your lunch money and how, well, sis, you know, you got that copper thing right here and you owe me $5 and you don't challenge it. You say, who are you? Where do you derive your authority? Don't tell me. I want to see it in writing. Other than that, we don't need no conversation. Now, can I go, or are you going to try to injure me? You trying to steal my liberty? Are you threatening to hurt me? Are you threatening to take something from me? Put it in the record and sign your name to it. And there's witnesses here. Say it before them. Here's my nationality card. Where's yours? Do you have one? If you don't, there's nothing for you to say to me because I know you don't have any authority in this government. Can't. Well, I'm American. Well, go back to Brazil. No, I'm American here. You American here? What's here? America starts from Alaska down to Chile. What jurisdiction are you talking about? How you going to claim jurisdiction on my land? Because I'm indigenous. I'm aboriginal to the land. Part and parcel of this said government. And politically, I'm a citizen of the United States Republic, conditioned by that Constitution. But I do have law that precedes that. Now, where's yours? Now, if you're claiming any authority by our Constitution, then you recognize this Republican form. Oh, we got democracy. Oh, well, go ahead back to England, wherever you came from, because you sure ain't got no authority here. What you talking about? But see, we're talking about this matter before us because you got this eyeglass case. What part of did you identified yourself yet? You're talking authority. You don't have any identification. Well, I got a driver's license. No. You got some agreement with some private corporation, some late private corporation that has a charter. That's not government. What is that part of the branches of government?